Over the past couple of years, farming as a process has really stepped up, with the agricultural sector in general becoming industrialized to a large extent to keep up with the high demands of a growing population. And you won't be surprised to hear that this has resulted in some of the most powerful machines you have ever laid your eyes on. But what are these monsters of industry, and how do they help to take farming to the next level? Well, whether you're a fan of technological innovation or just want to know more about the machines that ensure that we are well fed, stay right where you are, as we're about to take a look at some of the most powerful agricultural machines that money can buy. So, strap yourselves in and get ready for an intense ride, as things are about to get interesting. But before we get into it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss out on any of the new videos we post. Number 1. The Pottinger Leabnet. First up, we have the Pottinger Leabnet, which is considered to be one of the greatest machines when it comes to chopping wood. The process of chopping wood from whole trees has always been pretty complicated, and if you went back a few years ago, you would see that a large team of workers would have been necessary to take down the tree, split its trunk into smaller pieces, and then split those pieces further into even smaller pieces. The Pottinger Leabnet takes out the middleman in the process though, and allows the job to be completed by just one worker. It all starts when the machine lifts the heavy trunk up from the ground and feeds it into a compartment from where the worker can decide on the length that he wants the trunk to be cut into. Once the smaller pieces of usually 50 centimeters in length is cut by a saw blade, it is released by the feeding table and falls into another compartment. This compartment then splits the trunk into a number of smaller pieces depending on the knife fitting that has been attached there. The options are 4, 6, or 8 pieces, depending on the purpose for which the wood is going to be used. Finally, these wooden pieces are then sent up a conveyor belt from which they can be dropped into a container that has been placed there by a worker. The use of the Pottinger Leabnet obviously saves both time and money, as it can be operated by a single worker and results in equivalent pieces each and every time it is being used. It must also be said that the machine, although capable of breaking a tree down into a number of smaller parts, is actually incredibly safe to use. It has a light sensor built into the cutting process, which has the effect of stopping the machine as soon as a worker puts his hand in the danger zone. In other words, as long as the machine is up to scratch, you won't be having your hand cut off anytime soon. So that's a positive if we've ever heard of one. Number 2, the Merage France. You don't even need to be glued up to the farming scene to know that the vast majority of farms require tractors to be successful. Gone are the ancient days where men and women used to work the fields by using a handheld plow. While this method can still be used today, it must be said that technology currently exists that will allow you to plow a massive field in just under an hour, saving you days of work when compared to these earlier methods. And when it comes to tractors, there is no better machine on the market than the Merage France. This tractor comes with an incredible plowing attachment, which has been built up with hydraulic rollers, giving a look into the future of plowing. The rear wheels of the plow, which are set apart from one another at 45-degree angles, provide a lot of stability and ensure that the farmer using it has an easy time keeping his lines nice and solid. As the tractor moves forward and drags the plow across the field, the sharp ends of the plow stab into the earth and turn it up, leaving only rich topsoil that is ready for planting. The topsoil is then left to the rollers that have been built into the plow, producing incredible lines, which are more than useful when it comes to the planting stage. There's no doubt that the Merage France is worth every penny, as it gives a definite boost to production and makes every stage to come a lot easier in the long run. Number 3, the Lighttracks. Another technological innovation that is used across the farms of the world are harvesters, which once more cut out the middleman and improve the efficacy and time-consuming nature of the job tenfold. Remember, back in the day, farmers would have to employ a number of workers to harvest crops when they were ready, which not only increased the cost of purchasing these crops at a later date, but also took more time than any farmer wished to spend. In the agricultural industry, time is money, so you can imagine the joy of farmers when machine-based harvesters cut the amount of time necessary to harvest by large factors and allowed the job to be completed by only one worker at a time. By far, one of the best harvesters on the market at the moment is the Lighttracks from Agrifac Machinery, which is used to harvest both cane sugar and beets, depending on the products that the farmer wishes to harvest, of course. The operating operating system of the powerful machine provides the farmer with the ergonomics necessary to survive a long day on the field and ends up managing all functions including the engine. All of this can be controlled by a touchscreen that can be found in the cab of the driver of the machine, which allows for easy use and immediate stoppage if an error of sorts arises. The Lighttracks even makes use of what has been called Protect Plus scalping, which allows for the defoliator to be set higher. This means that more space can be set between the scalper and controlling crest, which ensures a more solid harvest of beets and energy-saving proficiency. All the farmer and worker has to do to start harvesting is drive the machine over a patch of crops he wanted to harvest. Once the crops connect to the rotary system at the front of the machine, they are adequately harvested and forced into a container from which they are carried up to the sides of the machine for storage. This all happens in the blink of an eye, with the crops then being collected by a conveyor belt that feeds them into a container that is often driven to the side of the machine. The fact that a farmer no longer needs to eyeball where he is going and can get all the necessary information pertaining to the harvest from the touchscreen in front of him proves the power and consistency of the amazing Lighttracks. With this tool in your arsenal, there's no doubt that you'll be farming like the best of them in no time. All that remains is a solid cleaning and your crops should be ready to sell. Now that's time saving at its finest. Number 4, the Class Heitzma BV. When it comes to irrigation in the agricultural industry, the canal system is still widely used across the world. For those of you who don't quite know about this system, it's pretty simple. Essentially, the farmer will dig a number of canals from which water can be collected for the purpose of irrigation, which is obviously necessary to ensure that crops grow tall and retain their healthiness. The only problem with the canal system is that it is pretty much just made of dirt, which means that it requires a bit of maintenance to ensure that it remains useful. Just one bout of terrible wind can blow an incredible amount of dirt into the canals, muddying up the works and bringing irrigation to a halt. This is what makes the Class Heitzma BV so useful. It consists of a large crane-like arm which digs into the blocked canal as the farmer or worker drives by. Its bladed arms then remove any dirt or blocked cells from the canal, resulting in a solid spread of water as the class passes it. Just one drive alongside the canal and you'll find that it has been both cleaned and unblocked, which sure does beat the usual method of digging dirt out of the canal with a small crane. Once again, this powerful machine saves both time and money, allowing a canal to be dug up in less than an hour. And while it might appear to be slow-moving work, we have to remember that it is a lot faster than the alternative, and since it is moving tons of dirt with a single drive-by, could we really expect it to be any faster? Suffice it to say, the Class Heitzma has been a saving grace to the farming community that still makes use of canals. Number 5, the Ecolog. Last but not least, we need to move back to the forestry industry, where we have the Ecolog, taking up the 5th place on our list, which is an absolute monster of a machine. Probably the greatest thing about the Ecolog is its flexible crane-like arms, which appear to extend for miles and can be used to harvest trees with ease. The chassis of the machine can even be tilted laterally by 25 degrees, making it one of the most maneuverable machines on our list. This allows the Ecolog to get to the harvest to reach places, using its power to rip out even the most stubborn of trees. Well, we suppose rip out isn't the best explanation for what is happening here, as the flexible arm of the machine can actually be used to wrap around the trunk of a tree. There are then a number of saws connected to the clasping contraption, which cuts the trunk at its base, freeing it from the earth. The machine then plucks up the freed tree and places it nearby for further processing. The Ecolog runs on a 35 horsepower Volvo engine, which might not sound like much when compared to road vehicles, but this power is more than enough when it comes to operating the incredible machinery that is attached to this beast. It must also be said that the machine comes with a 360-degree swivel cap, which obviously minimizes the need to move the machine. The worker operating it will thus move the Ecolog into an area that is surrounded by trees that need to be forested, and then continue working to release them from the earth. When it comes to getting trees out of the ground, nothing beats the Ecolog. So what do you think of these powerful agricultural machines? Feel free to let us know in the comments section down below.